We use language all day, every day, but here's a thought. Most of us are totally fluent in two completely different versions of it, and we don't even realize it. There's the language we speak, and then there's the language we write. And believe me, the gap between them is way wider than you might think. So let's break down why that is.
I mean, we've all felt this paradox, right? Talking, it feels as natural as breathing. It's just this constant flow of thoughts turning into words. But then sitting down to actually write something, that can feel like a genuine struggle. So what's the deal? Why is there such a massive difference between the two?
Well, here's the absolute heart of it. Speech is a biological skill. It's literally hardwired into our brains. But writing is a technology. It's an invention, something we humans had to create and then formally teach to every single new generation. You don't just absorb how to write by being around it. You learn it in a classroom with rules and, yes, red pens.
And this huge difference in how we acquire them is exactly where the real challenge begins. So let's explore that journey we all take, from sound to symbol.
Think about it. A little kid learns to speak just by being around other people. It starts with cries and gestures, and that naturally, almost magically, evolves into words and sentences. But writing? From a child's point of view, it's just this secondary strategy. I mean, they can already communicate perfectly fine, so why on earth do they need to learn this weird, complicated new system?
Oh, this quote just nails that frustration. Put yourself in a kid's shoes for a second. Why do I have to put spaces between words when nobody actually pauses there when they talk? Why does the word nice have a silent K? To a kid, the rules can feel completely arbitrary and, yeah, kind of stupid when you already know how to get your point across. Okay, so that early learning experience really shapes how we produce language as adults. Let's take a look now at the great divide between speaking and writing in action.
When you're speaking, it's a live performance. It really is. There's this constant pressure to keep the conversation going, to hold the floor. But at the exact same time, you're getting instant feedback, a nod, a smile, a confused look, and you're constantly adjusting what you're saying on the fly. It's completely dynamic and interactive. Writing, on the other hand, is the total opposite. You're basically working in isolation. You can pause, think, reflect, and revise a single sentence a dozen times if you want to. It's this careful, deliberate construction. And this is the major downside, you get zero live feedback. You're basically sending your message out into the void, hoping it lands the right way. And what's really fascinating is what gets lost in that translation from speech to text. Writing has a really hard time capturing things like tone of voice, sarcasm, rhythm, and all those nonverbal cues we rely on, gestures, facial expressions. This is exactly why emojis and exclamation points have become so incredibly important in our digital lives. They're our best attempt to add that missing emotion back in. Now, to really get why writing is so structured, we have to look at why it was even invented in the first place. And here's a spoiler for you. It wasn't for writing poetry. For most of human history, when we were in nomadic societies, pretty much everything was passed down orally. There was just no need for permanent records. But the moment humans settled down and started farming, society got a whole lot more complex. All of a sudden, you needed a permanent, reliable way to track property, laws, and business. And boom, writing was born out of that very practical need. Seriously, the first jobs for writing were incredibly practical. It was basically an ancient accounting tool. Its job was marking property, collecting taxes, creating calendars, and writing down laws. All the more cultural stuff, like recording religious texts and preserving literature, that actually came much, much later. And because writing is this purpose-built technology, it developed its own unique set of rules and structures. It's kind of like a hidden blueprint that we all follow, often without even thinking about it. One of the most obvious rules is that writing is visual. I mean, the way a text is presented, the font you choose, the layout on the page, sends a really powerful message before a single word is even read. A business proposal written in crayon is going to be perceived very differently than one written in Times New Roman, right? Even if the words are exactly the same. Okay, so here's a key concept that truly separates speech and writing. It's called lexical density. Now, in simple terms, it's just about how much information is packed into a sentence. It's the ratio of content words, like nouns and verbs, to function words, which are the little grammatical glue words like the, is, and an. And as you're about to see, written language is way, way denser. All right, let's see this in action.
A spoken, low-density version of an idea might sound something like this. Different creatures have their sex decided in different ways. It's perfectly clear, but it's a little wordy, a little spread out, just like natural conversation.
Now, let's start packing in a bit more information. We're moving towards a more written style here. The sentence gets a little more condensed. The way the sex is decided differs with different creatures. You can feel it getting tighter, can't you? We're getting closer to that formal, written vibe. And finally, we arrive at the high-density, fully written version. The mechanism of sex determination varies in different organisms. Now, this is where we see a classic writer's trick called nominalization. It's just a fancy word for turning actions, like deciding, into nouns, like determination. By using precise vocabulary and tricks like this, writing packs the exact same meaning into fewer, more powerful words. This, by the way, is why reading academic papers can sometimes feel so dense. And it goes way beyond just density. Written grammar is just fundamentally structured differently. We build more complex sentences, we use a more formal tone, and we add little signposts like firstly or in conclusion to guide the reader along. All things that would sound pretty strange if you tried them in a casual conversation. And we use all these grammatical tools to build different types of texts, or genres, each with its own specific purpose. So whether you're telling a story, explaining how to do something, or trying to win an argument, you're following a pre-established blueprint for that style of writing. So there you have it. Writing is this incredibly powerful, constantly evolving technology. It started as a tool for tracking taxes, and it grew to define human culture. Which brings us to a final, really fascinating question. In our modern world of voice notes, AI assistants, and instant video, what is the next chapter for this ancient skill? What does the future of writing even look like? That's definitely something to think about.